Before we get into this video, I'm Matt Baxter. I'm the founder here at FounderCo. And if you haven't heard already, we're now offering virtual meetups for founders. Essentially, these are community support events that we put on for founders for free. We'll pair you into a group of founders, about 5 to 7 of them, and you just get to work through the hurdles that you're facing as a founder. You can learn more by going to founderco.org, and the link is in the description. Now, let's get into the video.
All right, Matt, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Matt Baxter. I'm the CEO, founder, co-founder of a company called Wedge. Wedge is a video interviewing tool. We're a SaaS product, for as sexy of a term as that is, but we are a tool that we sell to HR companies to help them with video interviewing.
Okay, so you guys have been, where are you guys at in terms of like stage? Like, are you guys in development, in sales? Like, where are you guys at in terms of all that?
Yeah, so what I know now, we're 5 years into from originally idea on a napkin, and we are now truly stepping into the go-to-market strategy. So we have a product that we can sell. Obviously, we can always make improvements, but we have a product that we can sell, and we have some customers that we've had for 2 years now. And so we're past like the ideation stage, past the beta testing stage, and now it's like truly, I would call it the go-to-market stage.
Okay, so I guess with that, so you guys, you're maybe what I've been impressed by you is the networking and using LinkedIn, especially like I've seen you connect with people. I'm like, how did you even get that connection? So can you walk us through maybe the way you think through networking and the way you think through LinkedIn a little bit?
Yeah, so my first, I went from like, okay, quick, get to the 500 connection mark. So it's like the 500 plus, right? So you feel cool. And that was, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. And then it was at first, like, let's just play cast the wide net game. So I would just like spam. Like, this was back before it would connect and then take you to another page, connect. But like, you could literally hover your finger over it and it would just like repopulate connections. So I think like overnight I got like 3,000 or 4,000 connections. And then once you get, I don't know what the number is that makes you all of a sudden feel cool. Maybe it's, 10,000 on Instagram. That looks cool all of a sudden, or whatever it is. But all of a sudden it reached a point where I could be intentional about somebody I could reach out to. And unless they're kind of oddly stingy, most people just say yes, right? So it was just a connect. Some big mistakes that I made in that is we target HR, talent acquisition. So after those 3,000 connections or 5,000 connections, whatever it was, I would just go all night long, send random message saying, hey, are you using video interview? Hey, do you want to try our product? Hey, you want a free trial? Hey, like you name it, I attempted it. And I will go back now and read some messages from people and just cringe. I've had some people even reach out to me and said, Matt, I've seen all these messages. We actually realized you're a normal guy. At first, we were like, this is just another one of those people spamming. And then now we realize that like you're a decent person. I'm like, yeah, okay, lesson learned. Don't go spamming. So that's one big mistake on it. But I would say the way we've used the product, or like the way I've used LinkedIn is like, I'm pretty hyper focused on, if I'm sending a message now, it's thinking through what would be intentional to that person. So like if this is a high flying individual that I have no rights talking to, it's either podcast or can I get 6 minutes of your time to ask this very specific question? It's not, hey, let's connect and network. Like, screw that. Nobody wants to network, right? It's a really dumb concept. Like nobody who is doing something of status, time busy, is like welcoming that much. But if you're, hey, I need help with this issue. Hey, can you step in this way, shape, or form? Or hey, whatever the ask is. If it's like a 30-second, quick read, quick help, people all the time will say yes. So I've understood that, and I'm the same way. If somebody reaches out with like, hey, like, can I just connect and learn more about the business? My response back is, happy to help. Tell me how I can be the most helpful. Yeah. And that way it's like a very directness. So anyways, it's a very long-winded, go on for hours about this, but yeah. I've learned, like, we've landed 3 of our investors from LinkedIn, and they were random messages of people who I did not know before, didn't even have contact before. But it started as a, hey, can we connect? We'd love just to this or that. Say yes, meet them, build a relationship actually outside of like networking, but truly build a relationship with somebody. And then that's turned pretty fruitful, both from the investment side, client side, a couple employees now. So
Yeah. So I guess you hit on a couple of points I think stand out to me. So one is being intentional, because I think networking, like you mentioned, like no one just wants to network and like get to know people randomly. Like no one has time for that.
Yeah.
But I think what's really, especially if you're doing entrepreneurship and building a company, like you don't have time to just be like hanging out socially all the time.
Sure.
And the other part, I think you mentioned, like, I don't think you noticed you mentioned it, but it's like building a relationship with people too. It's not, don't be like super transactional, like get to know people and then that'll lead to other things. Don't just like ask for the sale.
When you ask totally out of nowhere to connect with somebody, or like above just like the actual connection, but to like talk to them, talk on the phone, meet in person, most people I feel like have a gut reaction of you're manipulated me in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how, but I know you are. So what I try to do, and I think through, because I feel that way about people at times, what I try to think through is what can I do to mitigate that risk or that barrier for somebody? So if it's a, hey, willing to connect for a call? Yeah, okay, what are you selling me? But if it's a, hey, I'd like to connect for a call and here's the very specific reason. By the way, I also might mention this, but it's not the only thing. Podcasts are great for that. Hey, you want to be a guest on my podcast? Also, if you're interested, I'd love to tell you a little bit about my business. Everybody says yes to that because that's like I'm not signing up for anything. Sure, I'm going to be on your podcast. And, you know, if business comes from it, great. So be it. But so I would say, like, advice to anybody out there, if you're trying to leverage LinkedIn, which is amazing, great platform, try to help people not feel like they're being manipulated. Like, don't just say, hey, you want to connect? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
So
I think what's the other part I've seen you do, like post, and you post a ton of content on LinkedIn personally. And I think what's been really interesting, I think it's shown that you're not trying to be manipulative. And I think like you mentioned, like people realize like you're a good human being.
Yeah, they just realize, oh wait, there's somebody behind that profile.
Yeah. And I think what's like some of the posts I think have stood out to me, I know others too, is that you posted like your personal phone number just for people to like call whenever they need it. Even if you're traveling, you just be like, and you travel a ton for everything you do.
Yeah.
So like you're just being a human being.
I kind of stole that from Bob Goff, who in like Love Does, he has it in the back of his book too. So it's like, if I can't be available to somebody who's willing to randomly call me, how can I expect somebody else to be willing to do that as well too, right? So like if I'm reaching out to, like, there's a couple very high profile people are about to be on our podcast that I found on LinkedIn, and they took the time to answer, took the time to say yes. So if they're willing to do that, I got to be able to do that the same way. It doesn't matter what the status is. And so that's, you know, if they call me and I've got time, heck yeah, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to answer. I'm going to say, call me back or text me back or whatever. Just freaking be available for people. So
yeah. So I guess maybe one last question for you is, if I'm a founder thinking through like B2B or B2B sales, like what's the first thing you would think about like with LinkedIn, like right away?
With like specifically how to land B2B sales?
Yeah. Like how do you think through, like how do you even think through, like how do you connect to people? Like what's that like ask, that like that being intentional part? Like do you just go out for the sale right away? Like you don't want to do that necessarily. Like how do you get people to actually like get on the phone call with you?
Yeah. So what I've learned in our sales cycle process, so we sell B2B products, so this is applicable for us. I don't try to leverage LinkedIn as much anymore to directly going after my target customer, but I try to go to who has influence on that target customer in their company, right? So it's not a bad idea to occasionally have a CEO of said company on your podcast, and then afterwards they say, oh, tell me about your business, and then they say, let me connect you with my HR manager. That's not the intention of why I wanted them on the podcast, but certainly not a bad byproduct. Yeah. So, for example, one idea that you could have is whatever B2B product you're selling, go to one of the higher profile people in the company and say, hey, can I at least get your feedback on this product or some advice on this product? Or, hey, I'm a young startup founder. You know, I'd like just to pick your brain on this sense. Then like people have heart for things like that. And then people are not afraid to say, if there actually is value, hey, let me introduce you. That's no problem. I trust you. You're a normal person, right? So I would say go to like whoever your target customer is, go to who has influence on them. And like, that's where you start to build a relationship, right? And then it trickles down to actually becoming a customer.
Yeah. The way, I mean, sales funnel, right? It's like think through it like that. So
yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing some knowledge on networking and LinkedIn, man.
You got it.